Hello and welcome to Willow's Green Permaculture. My name is Stephen Dixon, and today I'd like to talk to you about the SeeSii 21V Cordless Drill Tool Kit. I'm going to be giving you a training video about how to use basically any type of cordless drill so that you can use it safely and efficiently, and also so that you don't wreck your drill, sort of like what I did, not once, but twice. I'm also going to show you how not to wreck the projects that you might be working on. Also going to talk about why it's better to use screws and, let's say, hammers and nails for, let's say, projects that you're doing at home. And I'm going to give you about 10 different examples of projects that I've done here that you can do at home using this type of toolkit. Being able to do all these little jobs around the garden is really, really convenient rather than having to try and screw little screws in with just a regular screwdriver. Let me show you. And of course, I will be doing a review of this drill and this kit. Measure twice, drill once. So if this is something you're interested in, then let's get started. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is how to use the drill and some of the accessories that come with it so that you don't wreck your drill and you don't wreck your project. So the first thing is how to use it safely and how, of course, not to break it. And what do I mean by breaking it? Well, first of all, safely. If you're drilling stuff, it's always good to have glasses because you never know if something can go flying and into your eyes. So, a good pair of safety glasses, any decent pair of safety glasses will do. Let's talk about not breaking it first. All right. Here I got these two drills here, and I've basically broken both. I can still use them, but the bits are stuck inside. I cannot get them out. This one's been stuck in here for at least 2 years, and so then I got this one because I like to use two drills when I'm doing stuff, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But then this past winter, when I was drilling a hole into my shelf here so I could install a table that I could use water in my garage, I broke this one. And how did I break them? It's because sometimes I can get impatient when I'm working. And when I'm getting impatient, I want the job to be done more quickly. And when I want the job to be done more quickly, that's when accidents can happen. That's when you can hurt yourself. That's when you can break your drill. What do I mean by that? Well, getting impatient, so I want it to go faster, so I'm going to exercise more force. And then when you exercise more force, that's when you're putting too much force on the drill and you can end up breaking it. What you have to do is let your drill do the drilling for you. So I've got some pieces of wood here and we're going to have a look at this. We'll take some of these accessories out here. These are some of the drill bits that the toolkit came with. I'm very happy that it came with this because these little ones are really, really useful. And you're going to find that out in a minute why. Very, very useful. But these little drill bits, no matter what kind you get, they're always breaking. I'm always breaking them. Although that's partially because maybe I was trying to do my job too quickly. All right. So, but for the moment, I'm going to start with this big one because it's a little more visible. And so I'm going to show you how to first install it and so on. Now, the battery, I already charged it up a couple days ago and it seems to be good. Now, so first let's open this up so we can get this in there. It's already open wide, so now I have to close it up so that I can tighten it. There we go. All right, now I'm just going to drill a hole through this. What I got here on my desk is just this big piece of scrap wood so that if I drill too deeply, then it'll just drill into here and there's no chance of the drill going through to the desk. So let's start. So when you're drilling any hole, let's say, if you're doing a big job, sometimes it's good to clamp your stuff down. But anyway, I'm not going to clamp things down. I'm just going to show you how to use the drill. So you want to let the drill do the drilling. You don't want to stick too much pressure. So now you want it to go from left to right. So that's you push the button on the right side for that, and that's going to go clockwise. The opposite, pushing this button, is counterclockwise if you want to pull it back out and so on. The settings are also important. I'm drilling, so So I have to put it on the drill setting right here. So let's go. Okay, here goes. You let the drill do the drilling. What I mean by that is you don't push the drill down onto the wood. You might damage your drill and get your bit stuck in the drill. There we go, through. Don't push it. To get it back out, you press the button on the other side, so it goes counterclockwise, and then it pulls out. There you go. So, that's the first thing you need to do, is you let your drill do the drilling. You don't exercise excess force, as I was doing with this one when I was just screwing some screws in, okay? Or this one when I was making a hole, all right? Now, so that's drilling. Let your drill do the drilling. Now, let's put this back. Now, let me show you why these little guys are really, really useful. I'm going to take this screw. When I do jobs at home, I like to do them using screws rather than hammers and nails. Now, this kit has a hammer in it. It's actually got a little rubber thing that's installed on top of the hammer. I don't know if that's just a safety thing for while it's traveling, but it could convert it into a bit of a mallet, you know, because this can, you can hammer wood with this and it won't, maybe not wreck the wood because it's softer. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about screws. Now, the kit comes with screws, but I like to talk about the types of screws that I like to use for my jobs. So this is a good type of screw. You see with the square head there. I don't know the technical name for it, but it's got a square head. That's what I prefer. Okay, now I'm gonna need to get the drill bit with the square head on it. The bit for this screw here, it's right here. Now I'm just gonna pull this out using this. So it'll be easier to grab it for me using one of these pliers. There we go. And I'm going to test it, make sure it's the right size. There's another one slightly bigger. Let's see if it's the right size. Because it's best to have the snuggest fit possible whenever you're using any type of screwdriver. This one has a little bit of give, so I think I'm going to try using this one. Okay, so put this one back, put it in. Okay, now, here's where it's a real advantage having these things when you're doing home projects, because you don't want to wreck your wood. Because the thing is, I'm going to take a smaller piece here, a smaller piece of wood. Let's take this one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw this screw into this smaller piece of wood. You're going to see what happens. Let's say I need to put my screw near the end, okay? So, let's just screw this in. Okay. Now, look what happened. See that? The wood cracked. Why did the wood crack? Because I didn't do a pilot hole first. Yeah, it's possible to screw your screw in without doing a pilot hole, but you can wreck your wood. And my wood cracked. So this is not going to hold. You know, if I'm attaching this to this, it's not going to hold. So I'm going to bring that back out and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what we do. And here's where having two drills is an advantage. So I'm going to use this broken drill eventually to screw it in, but I'm going to use the SeeSii to drill the pilot hole, because that's what you need to do. Well, actually, I'll use the SeeSii to do both. So now, when you're drilling a pilot hole for a screw, you need to make sure that it's smaller than your screw. It's smaller than, let's say, the size of the center of the screw without the teeth. Okay, because if it's as big as the screw with the teeth and everything, you're just going to make a hole that you can pull the screw in and out of. So you look at if you know your sizes and so on, you know the corresponding one. But I just usually just look at it just with my eyes, and I check the one, like I can see this one right here. This one is smaller. Hey, see that? It's smaller than the center of this. So it's going to be able to make a hole into my wood, and then this will screw into it, but it's going to screw into it in a way that it's not going to split the wood. Okay? So, let's pull this out. Just Put it here for now because I'm going to use it again. Because I'm going to use the SeeSii to do both jobs. Clockwise. Okay. So I'm going to make another hole in this one, just beside this one, and you'll see that it's not going to crack. Well, you know what? Let's take another piece of wood. Let's take this one and drill a hole in it all the way through. I'll do it on here. All the way through. If you see, you have to let the drill do the drilling, otherwise also your bit can get stuck in the wood if you're trying to push it beyond what the drill can do. So just let the drill do its job. Okay, now, as long as this piece is, here we go. Now I'm going to drill the screw in. Now this is a much longer screw. Well, let's say I'm wanting to screw this to this to this. So here we go. So now I'm going to put this one back in. Here's the advantage of where if you've got two drills, you don't have to do this part. You don't have to be switching your bits. All right, but I'm going to switch the bits just so I can show you using this drill here. Okay, switch my bits, and I'm just screwing so I can lower the strength there. And now let's screw this in. You're going to see that it's not going to split the wood this time. Now the other thing is, when you're screwing, be patient. You don't have to like go all in. Like you can do it gently like this with little gentle. Okay. Now there we go. And you gently screw it in like that. That's the other way you can avoid breaking your wood. There we go. And now it's attached. Right? It's attached to everything. It's attached to, it's gone all the way through. It's gone through this, it's gone through this. But now let's have a look to see if I've split my wood or not. Okay, so I'm going to pull this out. Okay, because I counterclockwise pulled it out. There's the hole. There's the exit hole. See that? No split. It didn't split. Why? Because I drilled my pilot hole first with this little drill, and then I screwed it in. Now, this is the perfect example of showing you why it's a good idea to use screws for your projects. Let's say you built something, and I don't know, you're 3/4 of the way through your job, and you realize, I don't know, you measured something wrong. They always say, you know, there's a carpenter saying, you know, you don't measure something once, measure it twice at least in order to get it right. All right, let's say you measured something wrong, you made a mistake, you realize you have to take it apart and put it back together. Well, if you nailed everything together with hammers and nails, well, good luck taking the whole thing apart. Whereas with screws, it's a lot easier to take it apart. And because you never know, even if you finish the job, let's say, you know, I mean, you know, I built this big, heavy doghouse for my dog Lino many years ago, about 19 years ago. It was a heavy doghouse, and let's say I wanted to move that doghouse. Well, I could have easily just pulled it all apart into all of its pieces and moved it. And you can do that when you've screwed things together. Now, the other thing is about patience. You know, you do something slowly. You saw how I was gently screwing this screw in with the drill. That's called doing it with patience. It's called, you know, giving your job the patience and the care that it deserves. You know, this is your project. It deserves to be well done because you're using your time to do it. Enjoy it. Enjoy that process. The job that you're doing, the project you're doing deserves to be enjoyed while you're doing it. And if you enjoy it, if you're there with it and you're just doing it slowly, taking your time, doing it patiently, the job's going to be really well done, and you're going to have a good feeling remembering that job that you did it. Okay, so let's see what's next. I can tell you, with these two, it was the fall, I was busy. I wanted to get that sink set up in the garage, and so I was drilling that hole, and bang! When it came through the counter, it just I was putting my weight on it, and so it went bang like that. And that brute force is what made this get stuck, and now I can't pull this out. Luckily, This little bit here came with our 2 rain barrels, and they came with each one had one of them, and so we had a second rain barrel. Here's this one, the one that came with one rain barrel, but here's the other one that came with another. So if I needed to use the other size, well, I've got this and I've got the bit and everything, luckily. However, I've got other types of drills as well that I'm going to be showing you here today. The other thing is, you saw me, I used this drill bit and I used this drill and I used this screw bit to put in the screw into this wood nut so as not to ruin it. Now it can be inconvenient switching it back and forth, and the thing is, let's say I've got a big job and I've got a lot of screws to screw in. Some people might say, well, why don't you just, you know, do all your pilot holes first and then put in all your screws afterwards. You could do that, and then you're not switching back and forth between bits each time you're putting a screw in. But the thing is, when you're doing your job, sometimes you realize as you're screwing it in, you realize, oops, I need to make an adjustment. For some reason or other, you realize you need to make an adjustment. Or maybe you split the wood and you have to make an adjustment. So you have to put that screw in a slightly different spot, which might affect all the others. And so it's better, I like better to put each pilot hole in and then the screw in right afterwards. And so if you got 2, like for instance, so in this case, I could use this drill here to drill my pilot hole. And then this one, even though it's broken, even though I can't get this out, you see, it's the right size for these screws. And so I can use it. I can still use it. But all I can use it for is screwing in screws now. And so that's why it's better to take care of your drills and not to use brute force. Don't use brute force. When you're using a drill, you're not pushing a car out of a snowbank. You don't need to use brute force. There's the advantage of having more than one drill. And I got 3. Like I said, I didn't break it once, I broke it twice. And so I'm gonna have to use this one with a lot of patience, a lot of care, so that it can last a long time. What's next? Let's put these back. These little bits, it's always good to put them right back where they go. This big one right here, this looks like it might almost be the right size for drilling a hole into a maple tree in order to draw the sap. Maybe it's the right size. Now I'm not gonna do a sap cut today, but it looks like it might be the right size for that. These ones are too small for that. If you've done it before, don't make the hole in the same spot because you're not going to draw as much sap out of there. When I draw sap to make maple syrup, I just use reused vinegar containers, which I really try and take care of because I plan on making my own vinegar in the future, and so I'm not buying these anymore, and so I try and keep them. I just put a little hole in here, use the handle to attach it to the tree, and then I have it drip into here. I don't use this because I find it too big. Now, in the context of using this drill, I'd like to reiterate the importance of enjoying the work of your project that you're doing, because the project deserves that you know, that type of attention for you to give it to, and you deserve the type of attention, because whatever project you're going to do, it's something that you're going to use. I'm going to show you, like I said, about 10 projects. I got here a composting toilet I built, signs, trellises. I'm going to work on birdhouse gourds with you here right now. A bat house I made. You can hang things on walls with this. I'm going to show you stuff in my garden, the garden gate, and so on. All sorts of stuff that you can do with this drill. All stuff that's going to be useful. And if you've got access to scrap wood, then it's really nice. You know, for example, I want to make a sign with this piece of scrap wood. But, I've got some wood burning kit. All right, I put a sign on here, and I want to make a sign, and I want to put it up. All right, well, obviously I'm going to measure it twice, and I'm going to make sure that all the measurements are good, but then I'm going to screw it in. First, I'm going to put my pilot hole using these guys right here, and then I'm going to screw it in. Okay, and it's not going to crack it. So let's just make my sign. This is the piece that I already did the pilot hole, so I don't have to do it again. Once again, be gentle. You see how I'm just going, you could go like that nonstop, but that's when you run into trouble. Be gentle, just little like that. Okay, I'm going to just hold this tight. Now, sometimes you can clamp things down. Better. There, you see, and when you're coming to your, especially when you're coming to your last little bits of drilling, you want to be as gentle as possible. There you go. Whoops. Okay, this screw was too long. I've ended up attaching it to the... That's why it's important to measure things. You know, I only brought my 2-inch screws up here. Anyway, so let's pull this out a little. And counterclockwise. Goodness. Okay. There we go. I got my sign. Obviously, I've pulled the screw out a little. If I basically needed to have a shorter screw for this, and I could make a sign. Now it's all loose, so I can just, you know, well, yeah, maybe make my sign like this. Whoops. Maybe make it like that. Oh, now it's tightened. I'd put a second screw in to make sure it stays in the right position. Make a sign. You know, and you got lots of scrap wood. You know, if you've got a carpenter that maybe lives close to you, often they'll just put scrap wood out on the side of the road and for anybody to pick up. We've got one who does that not far from here, and so I'm always picking up scrap wood, which is really great for my teepees in the garden, and my trellises, and so much other stuff. Really, really nice. Very generous gentleman. Wood, you can do so many projects, and I'm going to show you some examples. So what are some of the examples that I've done? Well, I'll show them to you. And I'll show you examples of wood that's been split and so on. But let's go on to another example of things that can break if you don't do them properly. You know, here's a Birdhouse gourd that I broke about a year ago when I was doing my video on Birdhouse gourds. You saw me breaking it because I wasn't drilling it carefully enough. I was using this one, this bit here. In that video, you can see me using this bit properly so I don't break it. Now I've got a few more Birdhouse gourds here. I've got this one that I started in a recent video, but I haven't drilled the other holes. I haven't drilled the drainage holes, and I haven't drilled these holes here. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to use this bit right here. So I was talking to you about patience, and I was talking to you about using care and so on. This is not an industrial drill, okay? You're not going to use it for building a whole house with, okay? But it's good for small do-it-yourself jobs, all right? That you enjoy doing, you do with patience, do with care. So now I'm going to put in a couple drainage holes here. Now you'd think, why am I going to put drainage holes? I mean, how much rain is going to fall in here? Well, you never know. Plus, I don't know, do birds sweat? I have no idea if birds sweat. But if they do, you know, maybe you can have some liquid or whatever they bring into their nest. Some of that stuff could decompose maybe, and if it's going to decompose, it's going to generate some kind of liquid, and so you want that to be able to drain. And maybe some rain can get in there too. So let's drill these holes and see how we can do this gently so we don't break our Birdhouse gourd. What I like to do is, so I don't break my Birdhouse gourd, I like to use masking tape. Or this is painter's tape, but it's roughly the same thing. I'm just going to put a bit of tape. Comes off easily. That's the advantage of it. And make sure that I put it where I want to put those holes. I'm going to put about 3 holes in the bottom here. Okay, so let's go. Gently, 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 gently. Clockwise. There we go. And see how the tape came off? The tape came off instead of the Birdhouse gourd breaking. So let's put this back on. Masking tape might have been better. Whatever, doesn't really matter. Okay, let's make another hole. Okay, and third hole. There we go. Then reverse it to pull it out. There we go. Got 3 holes there. And I like to put a couple holes in the top in order to be able to put the rope or the string to hang up the Birdhouse gourd. I went and got some masking tape because it'll hold better. Kind of want it to be like this. That's sort of its center of gravity, because it's going to be like this. So the holes are going to be, this is going to be the top. Okay, you got to look at the center of gravity. So let's put that piece of masking tape well, and let's drill those holes. Clockwise. Now my hands are close there, so you see I'm not exerting much force. Okay, reverse, pull it out, because I don't want to hurt my hands. Okay, let's put in another hole. On the other side, it's going to be about here. Now if I find when I hang it that it's hanging all crooked, and I just put in a third hole. Okay, so gently lay this down. That'd be a better idea. There we go. So back up. And you see the masking tape stayed, so the painter's tape didn't. There, we got a couple holes to hang it up with. Okay, I got another one here I'd like to make the main hole in. Now, like I said, in other videos I've shown you using this bit here. But I want to use this one. You see, because this bit is for slightly bigger birds. This one is 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch wide. And so it's perfect for chickadees and other small birds like that, wrens, I think. And we have a lot of chickadees. I'll show you a nest in a tree trunk. I can't reach that high, but that hole was originally cut open by a woodpecker, which used it as a nest, but then eventually chickadees moved in. Here's one right now. I think it's surveying the nest. Slightly bigger than this, but this should be big enough for chickadees. And I want to see how it works using this drill here. Pull this out, put it back. Always put your stuff back so you're not losing it. Now let's put this in. See how, okay, good. So you see, because it's good when you have these types of drills, you can use them with other stuff. So this obviously, this didn't come with the kit. But now I'm going to put my glasses on for this, because this is a scary looking piece. Here on this side, this is another one that's going to hang a little bit like this. So I'm going to put it slightly higher. The masking tape is also going to help me know exactly where I want to put my hole. Okay, like I said, measure twice. That's the expression. I learned it in Mexico when I was living down there. Measure twice, cut once. Right? You don't want to measure once and then end up having to cut twice. Because that means you've wrecked something. Because each cut you only want to do once. You don't want to do a cut twice. So measure twice, cut once. Because if you measure once, you might end up cutting twice. Get it? Same thing with drilling. Measure twice, drill once. Clockwise as usual. Ready? Go. Gently. There we go. Ooh, this wasn't this didn't make a very clean hole. It didn't crack my birdhouse gourd, but this didn't make a very clean hole. This one made a very, very clean hole. These bits actually, like I said, they came with my rain barrel, and they're designed to cut through aluminum to put a hole into your eavesdrop in order to insert the pipe that's gonna drain into your rain barrel. So it's designed to cut aluminum, and so if it's designed to cut aluminum, then it cuts pretty cleanly through this. This is just designed to drill through, it's an auger to drill through wood, and it didn't make a very pretty hole. However, it's not too bad. The birdhouse gourd isn't cracked, so that's fine. It's gonna work. I can take the seeds out of here. This is a small birdhouse gourd, but wow, look at all those seeds it gave. My goodness. There's chaff in there, but there's lots and lots of seeds. There must be at least 100 seeds in there. Okay, there we go. Look at all those seeds. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to put the seeds in here. I like to reuse these yogurt containers for my seeds. I use them for a million things. I use them for my labels too. I cut them up and make labels out of them. But actually I have this out for another reason, and I'm going to show you right now. These reuse yogurt containers are great because I use these to water with. I use these to, I cut them up into strips and I make my labels with them. And you can also make pots out of these. And so it's good to have a drill to make pots out of them, because I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so let's remove this bit. Okay, let's hope that, yeah, it's long enough. I'm using different ones because I'm going to make holes into this, drainage holes, so I can use this if I want to as a pot. And the good thing is I don't generally use these as pots, but I can. And if I don't want to use it as a pot, I can still cut it up and use it for labels. But if I put holes in it, I'm not going to be able to use it for watering because the water's just going to come through. Although I can still use it even if I put holes in it. I can use it for large seeds like Birdhouse gourd seeds, because when I go out and collect seeds outdoors, sometimes I'll just bring these if I'm not collecting a whole lot, and I'll just put them in there. You know, I'll bring about a dozen of these out that because I reuse them again and again and again and again. I've had them for years. I haven't bought yogurt in years because we make our own yogurt, but I've been using these for years. Okay, so let's make some holes. Now, if you're making holes into these, there are lots of ways you can do them. You can use a pair of pliers and a drill bit, or you can use a screw if you want, or a nail, a pair of pliers. You hold your drill bit or your nail or whatever with your pair of pliers, and then you heat it up over the stove. You turn the stove on, whether it's a flame stove or just whatever, one of those spirals. You heat up your end, and then when it's good and hot, you can just slip it through, and it slips right through. However, if you don't want to do that, you can also just use a drill bit. But if you're going to use a drill bit, I don't recommend drilling like this, because depending on how old the plastic is, it could be brittle, and if you drill like this, you can end up cracking the whole thing, and then you've ruined it. It's better to have it on a surface and drill your hole into the surface. And then you're not going to crack it. Make our holes. There we go. There's one. Make another one. There's two. Make another one. There's three. Make another one. Oops, no, clockwise. Let's counterclockwise. Clockwise. Okay, this side is clockwise. This side is counterclockwise. Left is counterclockwise. Right is clockwise. Always getting mixed up. There we go. Fourth hole. Now you don't want to make your holes too small for drainage holes because they can get clogged. Put them on the lower end there. It's kind of like two levels. There we go. And one last one. There we go. I got some drainage holes in there. Okay. What else do we have to do here? Let's check my notes. Now I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking to you about different projects that you can do with this type of drill at home. I've already shown you a couple. The Birdhouse gourd. Showed you making a sign. I was making a sign, and I'll show you another one in the video here right now. But there are a whole bunch of others. And actually, a very, very important tool to have when you're doing any of this work is a pencil, so that you measure twice and you cut once. Measure twice, drill once. So here's an image of our garden gates. I'm going to show you our two garden gates and also some trellises that I did. Basically, I just used scrap wood. I made sure that I made pilot holes before screwing those in, but sometimes I didn't, and you're going to see that there's some of the wood that's split. But these are just little, they're not things that carry a whole lot of weight, and they're things that can be redone if needed. The parts can be reused. I've got a whole bunch of pea trellises over in the corner there that I put together using a drill and screws. Actually, this kit comes with ties like this. Not a big fan of these ties. When I first made the trellises, I attached them with ties, but then afterwards, when I more recently made trellises, I ended up attaching them with this type of thing. You can get rolls of this. This is the same type of material as the fence rolls that you can see here that I use, that I used and cut up to make these trellises and make the garden gate with. It's the same rolls that I made the whole garden fence with. And you can just get little rolls of these things and use it like twist ties. And that's what I ended up attaching the fence roll material to the trellises with. The trellises are all attached together with screws, and then the fence material is attached to the trellis with this type of stuff, because you can easily take it off and reuse it. I've seen people actually manage to reuse these ties, but I can't remember how they do it anyways. They're not very reusable, but however, it comes with these ties, so you can use them for some of those jobs. The hinges were also attached using one of these drills and screws. Here's an image of a bat house that I made using one of these drills. However, I put it on the wrong side of the tree. It's on the north side of the tree, you can see there. It should be on the south side of the tree. The north side of the tree is too cold for the bats. However, live and learn. I'll have to take it down and switch its sides. This is an image of our composting toilet. You can see I had to cull some trees out of the forest. I used those for some of the vertical wood. They were fresh cuttings, so I put them into the ground and some of them resprouted. Others here were actually little saplings that were actually already growing there that I attached the compost toilet to because I wanted it to be what I call a living compost toilet. These trees are going to grow around it. You know, I've used screws, and if I have to adjust some of the walls eventually, I'll be able to do that if the trees get too big. But anyway, you can see some of the work and how I did it using screws to put scrap wood and so on. Some of the pieces aren't scrap, but most of it's scrap wood. And here's the sign as well. The round thing is the hole I cut into the wood for the surface where you sit. Reuse that too. And of course, you can use one of these things to hang things up on the wall. And actually, you've got some material for that. You know, screws and like anchors and stuff for hanging stuff up onto the wall with, you know, through drywall. You know, these screws here, they're obviously not my favorite, but for that type of thing, they work fine. But for projects where you're actually building things that are going to hold weight, you want a stronger screw. And my favorite type of end is this square end here. And it's a good thing that this kit has the square end bit because it's my favorite. Luckily, when I wrecked this drill, the bit that's caught in it is the exact right size for these because these are my favorite screws. And so I can use this indefinitely even though it's broken. I just can't switch it out. I don't need this drill bit that often. I only use it maybe once or twice a year. However, it's broken, so what am I supposed to do? Be gentle. Be gentle. Let's look at the kit. Charged this up the day I got it, which was a couple days ago. Working fine after a couple days, and it was on the charger for a couple hours, but you know, I didn't go check it before a couple hours. It was completely charged when I went and checked it after a couple hours. Maybe it charges faster than that, I don't know. But it was completely charged after a couple hours. So that was good. Now what else is in here? All sorts of stuff. This one is kind of intriguing me. This is something that you can get into hard to reach spots. So this is curved. And watch, look at the inside of that. See how the inside turns? This is curved. So hard to reach spots, it's going to allow you to stick your bit in the end here. Put this in the end. Watch, hard to reach spot underneath a counter or something. And there you go. Now, of course, it's better if you can see properly in those hard to reach spots. However, this is really good advantage. Look at that. So, I've never seen one of these before. That's very useful. That's a real plus. I can definitely see, actually, there's a project I didn't tell you about, and that was the shelves in our basement that I built a couple years ago. I really could have used this then because there were some hard to reach spots. And because it's a little like cubby hole, so there's, you know, it's not a place you can stand in. So I was on my hands and knees doing the whole job all the time. This would have been really, really useful for that job. However, I got it done and it's holding up really nicely. And once again, this type of drill would have done it perfectly. Now it's got all sorts of different, got some screwdrivers here. This screwdriver, they don't come out that easily, but that's good because you don't want them falling out. Got this one here, a screwdriver that can be used with all these little guys here. With these two, here's something, a little pair of shears. Now, these aren't heavy duty, but there's some useful things here. Okay, this is a very simple spring, which works pretty well. All right, because some of them are complicated and they end up causing problems. I also kind of like this because it doesn't get in the way. Some of them get in the way. Some of them break. Like this one, you see, whatever was there, it broke. It's not there anymore. There was something like that held it shut. Whereas the thing that holds this shut here is right here. Shut it. You do this and it holds it shut. That's very convenient. This one that holds this shut doesn't work. Doesn't hold it shut. This one's a good type. Holds it shut nicely. However, I think it's the type that this one had that eventually broke off. And there's another one, I don't have it with me, but it's really, really annoying because it gets loose and it's constantly getting in the way. Now the thing about shears is you don't want to do any job that's too big for them because you can wreck them. So something like this size, it's, you know, maybe this is about all you want to do with it. So this is a piece of red basket willow. If I want to cut this to a size where I just want to put it into the ground to propagate it, well, if I just keep about 4 or 5 buds, that's all I need. Put 2 or 3 in the ground and you know, have about 2 above ground where the leaves can grow, the branches and leaves can grow out of the 2 leaf buds above the ground, and the roots will grow through from the 2 or 3 ones I put below ground. So I just count the buds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I just make the cut. There you go. Cut it nice and cleanly. You see? Nice clean cut, nice clean cut. Okay, but I wouldn't use this on anything too much bigger than that because you don't want to break it. This is a standard measuring tape, but what I like about it, better than this one I have, because this one, well, it only has inches on it. However, sometimes, depending on the information I've got for a project, sometimes I'll have inches, sometimes I'll have centimeters, and this has both, which is really nice. Now, this is not a huge, big, long measuring tape. Looks like it's about 4.5 feet long. Now, the thing about measuring tapes, if you want your measuring tape to last, don't pull it all the way out to the end, and certainly don't exercise too much force on it. Just use it, and when you start to feel that it's kind of resisting you pulling, stop pulling. Because you can wreck it, you can break it, and it ends up not, you know, the spring doesn't work anymore and it doesn't go back in. All right, so that's how you're going to make your measuring tape last a long time. Just use it to about 1/2 foot before its end. Don't, and then you won't break it. All right, so there. I got a hammer here. Like I said, it's got this rubber thing on it. I don't know if it's just meant for the travel or if you actually can, you know, just so you don't have a hard metal surface. But standard hammer, you know, but I mean, it looks like it's kind of glued together and so on. So you're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna use this as like as a giant mallet meant to say sledgehammer. Gonna use it for gentle, small hammering jobs. Okay. A couple different pliers with some wire cutters on there. Meant to say wire strippers. Different sizes. I used them to get these little bits out, which was useful. Because, you know, at my age, it's a little hard sometimes. And then we got this here. Wrench. Nice, just standard little wrench. The grip on all these things is good. And I've already talked about these. And here's your recharger. So, you know, and you've seen me use this. It's nice. It's got a nice grip on it. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do all your jobs. Probably not going to be able to drill into masonry with this, like into brick or stone or whatever, metal. But aluminum, sure, you'd be able to do it. Wood, but like I said, be gentle. Make your pilot holes using these bits here, and be gentle with it, and it should last you a long time. And so I was really happy. I don't know if SeeSii saw the video I made a few weeks back where I drilled a hole into this, and I talked about the fact that I had damaged my drills because I asked the question. I asked the question to basically everybody out there. How do you fix this? How I can't get these off. People gave me lots of ideas, but none of them worked. Some people said, you know, like hold on to it with a wrench and then make it work. It didn't pull out, and I didn't want to break the whole mechanism, so I gave up on that. However, if somebody has an idea about that, that's great. In the meantime, I can finally now, using these 2 drills, I can make my pilot holes with this and screw with this, or I can do both jobs with this, and I can do all those other jobs we were telling you about. One last thing, I want to show you using this guy. Put this on here. First, what you do, you pull this off, put that through there. And then Screw this in until it's good and tight. There, it's good and tight. Put this in here. See if this is big enough to take it. Should be. Put it in. Yep, there we go. Masking tape. X marks the spot. Clockwise. Okay, ready? Here goes. There. Well done. That made a much cleaner hole. Well, not totally clean, but whatever. This was not the nicest birdhouse gourd. It didn't make seeds, this one. But I still love all my plants and all my harvests. Now let's pull this out. All done. Put that away in a minute. So, there you go. The SeeSii 21V Cordless Drill Tool Kit. If you look in the description, there's a coupon in there that you can use to get a better price on it. It's a good drill bit. So, there you go. The SeeSii 21V Cordless Drill Tool Kit. If you look at the description of the video, you can see a coupon for getting a better price on it. I'd like to thank SeeSii for sending it to me. They probably saw this video and probably saw that I needed a new drill. It's going to come in handy. I should be able to do all these little jobs I've described to you with it. And if I take care of it, it'll last a long time. So, yes, I recommend this drill. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from it about how to use a drill properly, safely, and taking care of it so that you don't wreck your job and you don't wreck your drill. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. As you know, I answer all your questions and I respond to all your comments, and I really enjoy that conversation that we have. I didn't talk a whole lot about gardening in this video. Although this stuff, as you can see, is very useful for things you can do in the garden, like making trellises and garden gates and putting up fences and all the rest of it. However, if you need seeds for planting, then please check out our website. It's a good way that you can support what we do here at Will's Green Permaculture and support our channel. And eventually, for people that are more local, I'll be selling plants too, potted up plants and so on. I'm not there yet for delivering plants, but for selling them locally, I'm there. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time. Keep watching for a few more ideas about projects you can do with this drill. All set to store and use whenever I need it. Here's a little bridge we made. Just putting some pieces of wood together with a couple skids. Organizing your materials.